Hello, everyone. Thanks a lot for inviting me. I'm really very happy to be here with you, and I'm sorry about all these delays and things. Now, I hope you are fine, and I hope you are going to finish your academic year. And I want to congratulate you on that because that was an extremely difficult one, and you're great that you are doing it. You are already great. And today I'm going to talk about teaching very young learners, but as I can see, I can't show you my screen. So Zoom says that I don't have the chance to show
Okay,
my screen.
I will
Can you
you
change?
to make you the host
Yeah.
and let's see what happens. I hope everything is okay.
Yeah, now is fine. Thank you.
No problem.
All right, so here we are with my presentation. And let's get started. But before we get started, can I ask you to type there if you are teaching very young learners online in the chat? I hope I'll be able to see it. Yeah, so I can see the chat. And can you please type if you're teaching very young learners online and how old they are? So how old are your very young learners? I mostly work now with kids from 3 to 7 in groups. I teach them in groups. I see somebody has primary school students. What about very young learners? Yeah, some of the resources will be definitely helpful for primary students as well, but I mostly focused on very young learners. So I hope it will be helpful for you. So here we go. And to get started, I would like to see if we are on the same page talking about teaching very young learners online. And the first thing to be mentioned here is that in my opinion, there is no particular method of teaching kids online. There is a particular method of teaching kids in general, and the methods we are all using, which is the communicative method and approach, adapted to your particular groups. We don't have to, and we shouldn't probably be focused on the way it should be done online, because actually I don't see a great difference. The only thing that has to be mentioned here is classroom management. Classroom management issues are a bit different. I'm sure you've already come across with those ones. And today I'm going to show you some tricks I'm using in my classroom, which are helpful for my kids. What else is different in my case are definitely routines, because the surrounding, the place where kids are learning is different. On the one hand, it is distractive because kids definitely get distracted watching their mom cooking a cake or looking at their brother running around. But still, we're able to let them be focused, and there are huge opportunities for learning because they are surrounded by things they love and they really want to share. And if you work with young learners, you probably will agree with me. You can write in the chat that they are ready to communicate. They really want to show you what they have. They are ready to bring you all your toys, all their stationaries, pencil cases, whatever. So they are very happy with that. And why not use these enthusiasm for our studying purposes? So there are new routines definitely, and there will be new language. As far as I'm working with kids who are about 3, starting with 3, lots of them were not familiar with laptops and with computer and with technology at all. So when we started about a month and a half ago, we had to start with teaching them how to click the mouse. So that's a very important skill for me because I don't need parents in my lessons. I'll talk about it a bit later, but generally I don't. That's why I have to teach my kids how to use the equipment they will have to use. Laptop, the mouse, so everything we need. And the last thing to be mentioned here are definitely parents. I'm sure you already have the same problem as we do because a lot of parents want to participate. Some parents want to participate. They just come to your classes and start telling their kids what to do. Like, come on, she asked you to do that, sit down, stand up, listen to your teacher. and so on. It's absolutely incredible and impossible to believe because parents are really participating. But there is another category of parents who don't actually care, and they let their students stay with the techniques, and even if the kids have some technical problems, they don't interrupt. Um, Actually, we have to find the golden middle somehow, and I would like parents be helpers, be my assistants. And today I'm going to talk about it a bit as well, how to organize it. So today we're going to cook a cake of successful lesson online. I mean, successful lesson online with kids, of course. So the first important ingredient, and I would say the base of our cake, is definitely classroom management tricks. Why is that? Because classroom management differs. If you are able offline, just come up to the student and pat him on his shoulder, or just stand behind or give him a hand. It is quite easy when we teach offline, but it is completely different online, and we all have to get used to teaching online in this way. The next idea is about lesson aims, because sometimes lesson aims differ. If you want your students, first of all, just feel comfortable in a new surrounding, in a new learning place and circumstances, then we have to be focused on that probably more than on language, and probably we have to be focused on their technical skills as well if we badly need them. Then definitely our students suffer from lack of movement, and here it's quite possible to use TPR approach. I'll show you some elements which I use with my students. And probably the biggest goal of our learning is just encouraging students and letting them feel positive about what they are learning and what they are doing. And to deal with that, we have to let them speak and play. So here we go. The first part of our ingredient, which is classroom management, in my case, is definitely a talk to start with. When kids are here, they probably have been missing you and have been missing each other. And when they see you, they definitely want to speak a lot. They want to be interacted, and they want to do something. So what I usually do in my classroom, during the lesson, my kids are not allowed to speak their own language, Russian, but we have a small talk before the lesson. So we can discuss some organizational moments, some issues that we're going to have before the class. And I can ask them how they feel. They can tell me about their news and so on. After that, we have a particular thing like the bell when my lesson starts. And before getting started, if we talk about the very first class, we definitely have to ask our students to understand where the camera is, because some students just get lost. When they go out from your camera, you can never see them again. But they have to be aware of the risk losing themselves in the camera. So just let them touch the camera, wave to you, and get started with that. Make sure they know what the mouse is. And definitely talk about the rules. If you have some set of rules in your offline classroom, same rules will work in online classroom. Besides, we have to talk about what's going to happen, because especially if it's their very first class, they are kind of worried or thrilled. We have to let them feel safe and comfortable. What I offer all the teachers I work with is a teaching diary, which is a very, very helpful thing. It takes time, but still, it is worth completing. Usually after every single lesson, especially when we only started teaching online, we complete all these columns, and so we have to write down how good or bad the students were with gadgets, with classroom management, language, parents, and anything else you want to add. So this is a very helpful thing, because you can You can listen to lots of webinars, you can read a lot and find a lot of resources, but nobody knows your kids better than you do. That's why it's really helpful, and I do recommend you have your own teaching diary and just spend 1 or 2 minutes completing it after every single lesson. The next thing is about aims and using online games and resources wisely. Before we continue, can you please type in the chat why you use online games? I'm sure you do. Can you continue the sentence? I use online games in my classroom, in my lessons too. Why? Why do you use online games? Make learning memorable, great. Yeah, review vocabulary, right. Revise, definitely, great. Any other ideas? Yeah, so practice new language on the one hand and let them feel comfortable and enthusiastic on the other hand. Yeah, great. So here are the answers of teachers I'm working with. But what I'd like to draw your attention to is that on the one hand, we have to let our students feel relaxed, and we have to let our students feel fine. But on the other hand, we have to practice the language. That's absolutely true. But what is actually important is talking about something that you're missing in your online classroom. For example, in my case, we used to have a tradition to celebrate birthdays of my students, and to substitute this missing routine, we had to use an online game. I'll show you a bit later the game we used. Besides, if we miss some elements of our lesson, like board games, we can definitely use them. We can kind of celebrate a course, and if we want to, using an online game, for example, an online quest. And we definitely can encourage our students to do what we have to do. And definitely it is opportunities for, these are extra opportunities for language practice. But there is a danger in this case. I would like teachers to avoid this games for games approach. When we start getting resources, so it looks like that. So, wow, I found a new game for my students, let's play it. And then I found another game and another game and another game. And then our lessons turns just into a set of different, wonderful, amazing games with lots of wow effects, which is definitely great, but doesn't always work for our own purposes and for our learning aims. That's why I don't like gamification only for the sake of gamification. And it takes time for students to get accustomed and to get used to having lessons in a different way, not just a set of wow effects and tricks. And to avoid that, the first thing to be done here is just to think of your lesson aims and ask yourself questions. What will my students be able to do after this particular class? And how will this particular game help us achieve this goal? And do they really need some extra practice? What does this particular game work for? And what is the way I organize this game? How many students actually speak in the game and how many students are involved? If we have a big classroom, like 8 students, what if one student plays the game and what are the others doing? That's my question. The next thing, which is really important in our case and in our cake, are familiar characters and lesson structure. I'm sure you know these characters and this particular video from Super Simple Songs. What we usually do in my classroom is following the lesson structure PPP, which stands for Presentation, Practice, Production, using the same assistant. By assistant, I mean a puppet which comes to our lessons and talks to students. Having the same routines. We usually say hello, we're asking each other questions, how they feel and how they are. And we have some final part routine, which is also very helpful for them. And usually we work with videos a lot. So we don't just watch cartoons, we have breaks. So they first watch a part of cartoon, then we have a pause. I ask some questions, they answer some questions, they do some tasks, and then we move on. So we have some particular routines of definitely singing songs. And for example, if we talk about end of lesson routines, this is usually a hugging time. So when I finish my lesson, we have hugging time. So usually in the offline classroom, it's just a huge group of kids and teacher hugging each other. Now we don't have this possibility, so we just hug ourselves and comment on that. So what are you doing? I'm hugging myself. And after that, we have a small talk discussing plans, like what are you going to do? I'm going to play Lego now, or I'm going to drink tea now. And besides, we talk about prices, but I'll mention it a little later in my talk. As for TPR and movements, kids definitely suffer if they don't move a lot. That's why we shouldn't turn our online lessons into sitting down classes. There is no need. They can move as much as they want. Besides, when they need some extra tactile sensation, we can start with actions, and we can start with parts of face vocabulary. The reason why I did that as my very first topic of online lessons was that I thought my students might feel a bit lack of tactile sensation. So letting them help here, I used the song of Julia Donaldson, Pull a Funny Face, which is a very good one. You can find it on the internet, in YouTube, and work with parts of face. There is a very good vocabulary. And besides, we practice making faces, students feel fun, students have fun, and we feel comfortable. So that's the thing that can be done here. Besides, if we talk about classroom management, there definitely should be sound system. I'm sure if you're working with very young learners, you already have one, and you can use the same sound system as in your offline classes. For example, I can use some musical instrument to attract their attention, to let them sit down when they need it. So if I want them back in front of their laptops, I use this kind of sound, and they know it. So if they hear this sound, they have to come back. Besides, we all know that our students love rhymes, and we all know these attention getters like 1, 2, 3, eyes on me, or guys, I need your eyes, hocus pocus, everybody focus, and so on. So the thing here is that our context of learning is a bit different. That's why I've created some online rhymes, but I'm insisting on using them together with gestures. They can be done and repeated with kids in the following way. Boom, boom, I'm in my room. I'm fine, I'm here online. Or stop, stop, this is my laptop. It attracts their attention and you get them back and you can continue your online class. Besides, if you've just started teaching online, probably, and actually all the time, we need some emergency set just in case. So for that situation, I have a particular source assistant. So some particular toy which can come if somebody misbehaves or if something bad happens. You might use a cartoon as an a part of your emergency set, and it's a very good thing to use some favorite offline games. For example, the little mouse. Little mouse, where is your house? There are 3 cups, 3 plastic cups, and the mouse. You have to hide the mouse, and your students have to guess where it's hidden. They close their eyes and they try to guess. What I particularly love about this game is opportunities for speaking practice, because they're able to practice their speaking skills and to say whatever they want, like, I think the mouse is hiding in the purple house. Or if they are only very beginners, they can just name the color. So you decide what they're going to say. What's Missing game can be played either offline or online. And what I especially like here is working with visuals. For example, you can take any picture like this, or find any picture on the internet, or just take a photo of your students and play Where is the Treasure Chest game, which means that you tell your students that you've hidden the treasure chest somewhere, and they have to guess where it is. For example, they ask you questions. Is it next to the fox? No, it isn't. Is it in the river? No, it isn't. Is it in the house? No, it isn't. So they have to guess, and you can limit the number of attempts if you want it. It can be done with any visual you like. Besides, there is a great thing to be done. It's motivation board. I do love motivation boards, both offline and online. And at the end of our talk, I'll show you mine here. So you can use offline sticker board behind you if you've got a wall there, and you can just put some piece of paper and put your students' photos or whatever, and put some stickers there. Besides, if your students do it in the offline classroom, you might ask them to collect something. For example, if they have done some task correctly and well, you give them a part of something. For example, we practiced it with a caterpillar. They got, for every particular task in a lesson, a piece of caterpillar, and then they had to put it together. You can do it both offline and online, and this is a very good motivation for classroom management. And in the online board, you can let them use a remote control, so which I'm going to show you. Visuals are really important. We definitely use a lot of pictures in our lessons, and we definitely use offline toys and videos, as I've already mentioned. And now, to let our students feel happy, enthusiastic, and let them practice speaking, I would like to show you some picture games. So again, you can take any material you want. This is the material we've created with the artist, but you can use it with any visual and play the following things, like picture dictation, which is when you see the picture, your partner doesn't see the picture, and you describe what's happening there. Your partner has to draw, and then you compare the pictures. So the funnier, the better. The worse, the better. The more speaking practice you have. Besides, you can compare things there. You can compare men, women, children, so any objects in the picture you have. You can practice definitely memory game, especially it's very convenient in a mirror board. For example, when you use a sticker and put a sticker on the picture and ask your students to remember what there was in the picture. It can be guessing game when, for example, you think of one character and your students can ask you questions about this character, to guess who this character is. It can be any story or connecting things in the picture. The second part is action games. As for action games, we love game which is called You Are the Teacher, when we ask our students to stand up and tell everyone what to do. So for example, jump. Everybody starts jumping. What are you doing? I'm jumping. And that's it. The traffic light is similar. When it's green, they can do something. When it's red, they have to freeze. Hokey Pokey attention game, I'm sure you know, it's from Super Simple Songs. You can just check the song. And there is one more resource which is called Will Decide. I'll show you a bit later. The next one is games based on offline objects. So you can just draw a common room. When we were learning furniture and rooms with my students, I asked everyone to name one object and everyone had to draw a common room. So we got one object from one person and we had to describe the room all together. You can also make an easy craft or color the picture or do some activities based on offline objects. For example, I usually do it in my offline classroom when people put on clothes, when we discuss clothes and item of clothes. It's very, very helpful. And the next thing is prizes, which I'm going to show you now. Resources I can send you, and I would like to show you some games we use. First of all, it is my motivation board, which means that students have got some prizes. They have got some prizes, and by the end of the lesson, they can choose. What would you like? And they say, I would like a blue horse, for example, and I let them use my remote control. They move it, and then they get it. And the other students are commenting what's happening now. The next resource I'd like to mention is the Ducky Deck. DuckyDeck.com. It's a site with online games. One of those is a game with clothes, when you just can remove some parts of clothes and describe what the girl is wearing. The game which I mentioned as movement game, this is site Will Decide, where you just spin the wheel and get the color, for example, red or blue, yeah, pink. And then you say 1, 2, 3, 3 pink objects come to me, and they bring 3 pink objects. I asked them to bring 3 because we were learning comparisons, comparatives and superlatives. If you need just 1 to name the color, it's fine. So they have to bring the object and name them and compare them. In my case, for example, I brought this and this and this, and this is the biggest object I brought. The others have to memorize and remember what person has brought. You can also create some wheels for older students if you teach primary classroom. Let them work in pairs. For example, one person makes up a question and the second person answers the question. So this is a very good thing for pair work. You definitely know a lot of board games, and the site here is ESL Games Plus, where you just throw the dice and go. Throw the dice and make the tasks. And one more site which I love is Game Zapper, where you have to work with either videos or games, where the boy is looking for
Let's
germs.
find all the germs hiding in my house and find germs. There are lots of germs hiding in my house. Do you want to help me find them? Let's find 8 germs.
So the task is to let students use the remote control and find germs. Besides, they can also revise the vocabulary of
done.
furniture, rooms. And besides, in my case, they said, I found the germ on the floor, or I found the germ next to the sofa. So you revise everything you want. And here they have nice videos as well. So if you want to work with that, that's a very nice site. And the last site I want to mention is abcy.com. Make a Cake game was the game which we made with my students, which we played with my students while celebrating birthdays. So you can let your students make a cake, decorate it, then use the candles, let them blow the candles, and save the picture. There is also a button for saving the picture, and send everyone this kind of picture. Actually, that's all I wanted to tell you. If you want to contact me, the information is here, and I will be glad to answer your questions.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Tatyana. It was really informative and very concise, and I hope that everybody found something interesting to use, even during the summer vacation that is coming, because I know that many of our teachers for sure will continue teaching during the summer vacation. This is like a non-stop machine. Our teachers are usually doing this over and over again. Okay, so thank you very much. I guess that if there are any questions, we will just contact you by the details that you provided. And hope that everybody else is always, yes, huge thanks. As you see in the chat box, everybody is very, very grateful for the presentation you organized. Thank you again, and hope to see you all, not only online soon, but live, because this is something that we definitely miss. Not only the children miss this, but we do also miss this. Okay, thank you everyone. Those who were in the list of attendance that we had several weeks ago will receive their certificates of participation, and hope to keep in touch. Don't forget that we have lots of other things coming. Have a nice day, and hope to see you very, very soon. This is really something I hope for.
Have a nice day and have a great holiday if you're going to have it.
Hopefully, yes. Thank you.
Great. My pleasure.
Nice, great day. Thank you.